Hola, muy buena gente, ¿qué tal? Bienvenidos a otro episodio capitulillo de este Edith Finch. Bueno, vamos a continuar con la historia de Sam. Bueno, la historia de Sam ya la hemos terminado y vamos a buscar pasadizos secretos. Estamos todos los días con la pedazo de casa que tienen y estamos todos los días por aquí, por las guarrerías. Va a pegar a la pared y la pared no sale a ningún sitio. Está bien eso. La caldera.
After Sam died, my mom and Edie got really close. They'd both lost a lot.
Joder, macho, en serio. La habitación de la niña está aquí con el pasillo este todo roñoso. ¿En serio? La habitación de la niña llevaba el pasillo este roñoso. Increíble. Bueno, la niña o un niño. Bebé.
Dear Kay, do you remember the way Gregory used to laugh when he thought he was alone? Like something funny was happening, but only he could see it.
Hand over, Gregory. It's time to... Hold on, sweetie. Hello? Sam, I told you I don't want to...
No me extraña que se mueran. Aquí sin vigilancia.
I wonder what he saw.
Ah, que soy la rana.
You reminded me so much of Calvin. Lost in his imagination. I know how silly it sounds. But I worried about a baby.
Me va a saltar el copy por todos lados.
I feel him slipping away.
Sorry about that, Gregory.
I know you did everything you could. Maybe if I hadn't called that night.
Damn it. Hold on, I don't want Gregory to hear this.
I wish he could have told us about the world he saw.
Ah, la alegría, alegría.
There's so much I don't understand. About Gregory. About everything. but I know what happened wasn't your fault. I'm sure he's happy. And he'd want you to be happy too.
Toma ya.
Good luck, Kay.
Empezamos bien.
Love, Sam.
Otro, al hoyo. Hostia, era feillo el desgraciado, Bueno, pues nada. Joder.
I can't imagine my mom ever writing poetry, and yet...
¿Este quién es? Pues... Bueno, esta o este.
A poem for Gus, who always said the
Gus.
wedding was a bad idea. Our father never hit us kids, at least not very hard, before the day my brother said with teenage disregard that he'd be dead before he'd see a wedding in our yard.
No entiendo nada.
My father made him come, of course, but Gus stood far apart, just flew his kite and bottled up the storm inside his heart.
Ah, vale.
I tried to talk him out of it, but though he'd never met her, "We don't need a stepmom," were the words that
I
I
now
remembered.
pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride.
When the time for photos came, Dad ordered him to come here. But Gus declined and as a sign held up his middle finger.
Cuatro horas volando a la cometa, no veas, tío, qué familia más. 4 horas aquí.
The wind picked up, and
Divertido.
panicked geese appeared and quickly went. But all the humans did that day was go inside the tent. The rain came down in buckets then, but no one seemed afraid that nature might destroy the tent our dad had crudely made. The thunder sounded much too close and full of angry power. But all my father said to this was, "Make the music louder." I wish that I could truly say I thought about you on that day. Out there on the beach alone, just you, the wind, the sea, and foam. But I didn't, until we found you.
Bueno, pues... Gus listo.
She never talked about him, but Mom told me once if I was a boy, they were going to name me Gus.
Cortitas estas, ¿no? Ah, por eso tiene la cuerda aquí con la gomita. Ya tenía pinta de rebelde el Gus. Bueno, pues nada. Gus listo. Emergency evacuation, mando aquí. Télate. Y la otra ahí sellando las puertas. Madre mía.
My mom moved up to the loft after her brothers died. At the time, it was as far away as she could get.
Joder, para llegar aquí hay que escalar. Qué práctico. La Virgen. No sé, raritos eran, ¿eh?
Religion was another thing my mom never talked about, but I think it helped her a lot after her dad died. She spent a summer building houses in Calcutta, where she met my dad, Sanjay.
Calcuta. Madre mía, la India. Tiene que ser chulo la India. Pasa que... tiene que ser agobiante también.
My mom moved to India a week after graduation and got a job teaching English. Louis was born a year later.
Unas sillas por ahí atrás. Para arriba o para abajo. Para abajo no podemos ir a esta ruta.
When my dad died, I
Pues nada,
don't
para
think
arriba.
Mom knew where else to go.
Ya estamos acercándonos a arriba, ¿eh? Down.
I'm sure Edie was happy to have her back. The house had to get a little bigger, but Edie was used to that.
Vamos, aquí ven un árbol y le montan un rascacielos. Esto es porque Dubái. Que lleven un trozo de arena libre y le montan un
Things were
rascacielos.
good. Almost normal.
Qué vistas más chulas.
But it didn't last.
Pero no duró. Bueno, prácticamente no te deja hacer nada, ¿eh? No te deja hacer...
The beginning of the end was Milton's 10th birthday, when Edie gave him a castle.
Está bien esto. ¿Esto es lo más alto o no? Ah, no, hay más. ¿Puedo ir ya? Sí. Vale, pues vamos por aquí, ¿no? Sí.
I think Edie was happy to finally have another painter in the family.
Bueno, no te dejan, no hay nada.
Milton Finch in The Magic Paintbrush.
Joder. Este desapareció directamente.
I was 4 when Milton disappeared.
Bueno.
Mom spent months searching for my brother. Then she sealed the doors.
¿Cómo no? ¿Cómo no?
Whatever Milton had found in the house, Mom didn't want it getting out.
La madre en espuma de poliuretano se gastaba la tía el jornal. El de la ferretería diría, madre mía, chacho. Me forro con la loca esta. Cada día me gasta 10 botes.
Mom definitely blamed Edie, but I think Lewis blamed himself. After he graduated, he just spent more and more time in his room. Until Mom got him a job at the cannery.
De atún.
Lewis's room smelled very, very familiar. That part of him lived on.
No. Tío, no me da tiempo ni a... Pero solo me he girado. Tira para adentro, anda. Verso. PS1, Bueno, es una mezcla.
Lewis and I spent a lot of time playing games together, but he was surprisingly bad at them. He died a lot.
Otro VHS, macho. ¿Cuántos vídeos tiene esta familia? Vale, por ahí se sale. Vamos allá, Lewis.
Dear Mrs. Finch, as Lewis's psychiatrist, I can understand your desire for an explanation. As I see it, the trouble began in January, shortly after we convinced your son to seek treatment for substance abuse. Newly sober, I believe Lewis first noticed the monotony of his daily life. He kept working at the cannery, but he withdrew part of himself. In our sessions, I saw the same behavior. His mind began to wander. I asked him to describe it. He said he started small, imagining a labyrinth. He'd feel his way about. Then something moved. Bats and toads. And things that have not names. He knew it was all in his head, but he took it very seriously. I had hoped he'd find himself. But he found something more. I worried about him then, daydreaming at the cannery. I spoke with his boss. But he said Lewis had become a model employee. Methodical, tireless, focused. Like a whole new Lewis. So I let him go on. I even encouraged him. It seemed very promising at first. He told me he'd made a new friend. On the edge of a city he named Lewis Topia.
Tienes que ir cortando ovejas con una mano y con la otra moviendo.
He built the city up slowly, brick by brick. Then he made musicians.
Bueno, la marihuana ya hacía efecto. Su mente ya estaba dispersa.
And songs for them to play.
Bueno, en realidad tampoco hace esto. Esto es más el LSD, ¿no? Que se tomaba
He
antes.
talked about starting a band.
Ahora no sé. Alucinaciones.
And he was always humming something. Every day his imagination grew stronger. He no longer spoke at the cannery. But his talking was as reliable as ever. Then one day it struck him that all the cheering crowds, even the stones under his feet, were all in his imagination. So he could do whatever he wished. He held an election for mayor. And he won. They begged him to stay, but his mind was already wandering. It became a game for him. He'd conquer a city, then immediately push on. New Louisville. St. Louis. He started drifting away from our reality. Minneapolis, until one day he forgot to go home from the cannery. Even as his mother pleaded with him, part of Lewis kept sailing on. In Lewisburg, he heard rumors of a handsome queen.
¡Qué choco!
The queen was on her own quest for
Quiero ir por arcoíris radiantes, no serpientes siniestras.
radiant rainbows.
Venga, se nos va a acumular la faena aquí. Toma ya ahí.
He followed the sound of her electric sitar.
¡Ay!
His chase led him to a golden palace east of the sun and west of the moon. Even then, his logic remained sound. He knew the world was all in his imagination.
Van a saco, con los pescados.
But he was so proud of having created it. In his own eyes, he'd become something greater than a king. For someone who'd never known success in the real world, I think it was overwhelming. And then it struck him that the real Lewis was not the one chopping salmon, but the one climbing the steps of a golden palace. My imagination is as real as my body, he told me. It was hard to argue with him. Began to forget the world we know.
Joder. Madre mía, queda algún pescado en el mar, tío.
I think it pained him to remember Lewis, the cannery worker. He began to despise the man with a royal contempt.
Pringao, me piro.
I still thought I could save him.
Ya estoy en otro nivel.
Even after he said he was being crowned king over all the lands of wonder. palace would be packed with his companions.
¡Ey, plebeyos! ¡Ay, ay! Dale al bombo fuerte. Hostia, tú estás enorme, chacho.
Including the wise calico that insisted on advising him. His queen waited, holding his crown. There was only one thing left to do. Bend down his head. And the rest I think you know. Mrs. Finch, your son was a kind man who will be missed by all of us who knew him.
Otro menos, venga. Madre mía, chacho. Este se me ha flipado por eso. Este se me ha flipado.
My brother
Bueno.
was really cool. I wish you could have met him.
Me queda el Shanghai ese, ¿no? Me queda uno. Venga, va, pues ya continuamos. Han sido los primeros cortitos. Ya continuamos y supongo que ya dejamos. Acabamos con ese y acabamos el juego. Supongo, no lo sé. Vamos a probar.
On the way back from Lewis's funeral, my mom told me to start packing. She waited until the day before we left to tell Edie. I'm not sure if she wanted to make it easier or harder.
Joder, macho, qué vista. Qué peligro, ¿no? Esto aquí con cuerda.
I wish we'd stayed.
Joder, con el perro.
But I understand why we left. My mom ended up leaving everything behind.
Aquí vivía tu madre. Joder, menuda panza de escaleras.
What happened that night had been coming for a long time. Maybe it should have come sooner.
Hola, venga.
But it had to end one way or another. All that's left now is to tell you about that last night.
Perdón.
That whole last day, Edie just watched us pack and didn't say a word. Until supper, when she raised her glass and said,
To our final night together, and all our final nights apart.
Grandma, you know what I said about alcohol. Some of your medications are very
Edith,
specific.
I left a present for you in the hallway. Why don't you go open it? The grown-ups have to argue now.
I'm sorry, you're right. We're all leaving tomorrow. Let's
sorry,
just
abuela.
enjoy our last...
I'm not leaving.
I'm sorry, abuela.
Edith, you're excused.
I'm sorry, abuela, ya voy. Mi abuela. El flipado del alucinógeno, macho, no veas. Colega. Voy a dar un paseo por aquí a ver si encuentro algo. Aquí no me dejan ni pasar. ¿Qué hay aquí que no me dejan pasar? ¿En serio que no paso por el hueco ese? El del castillo me ha gustado, ¿eh? La historia del castillo es guapa, tío. El flipado del LSD, de los trippies ese. Bueno, fumaba marihuana, pero la marihuana no te hace alucinar, digo yo, no sé.
The
No
power
sé,
had been
no
shut
sé.
off that morning, but Edie always had plenty of candles.
No sé. Esa
When
historia
my
es chula.
mom sealed the library, I don't think she knew about the other entrance.
Bueno, la del niño, la del bebé también mola, ¿eh? La del agua también ha molado, esa también me ha gustado, es guapa.
Or that Edie had a key to it.
Joder, por aquí se meten por cualquier rincón, macho. ¿Cómo cabes ahí, tío? No me jodas. Vaya casa, tío. ¿Cuántos metros perdidos, macho?
That thing you're afraid of isn't going to end when you leave the house.
Coge la luz. No coge nada. La luz, gracias.
Edith has a right to know these stories.
My children are dead because of your stories. I think it's best if Edith and I leave tonight. We'll have the nursing home send a van for you in the morning. Okay?
Perdón.
Dear Edith, there's so many stories I wish I could tell you, but there's only time for one. This is about what happened on the night you were born. That night, the tide went way, way out.
La marea bajó muchísimo. Bueno,
It was the first and last time I ever saw the old house aground. There'd been an earthquake out in the middle of the ocean. They called it the lowest tide in 1,000 years. God, it smelled awful. You know, I've seen that house every day of my life.
hostia, podemos ir a la casa.
But I never thought I'd go back to it. When the fog rolled in, I lost my way.
Voy recto, voy bien, voy recto. Si no me tocan.
I got turned around.
Por aquí no me dejan pasar.
For a while, I wandered. I started seeing things.
Sigue al ciervo, siempre hay que seguir los ciervos. Los ciervos salen en los juegos para que los sigas, siempre.
Things I'd forgotten had ever existed. when I saw them, they felt like old friends.
Esto es una cama. Un libro bajo el agua no
That
aguanta,
night,
tío, no me jodas.
a lot of things came back to me.
Un váter y todo eso vale, pero el libro, tío. Cocina vale.
Or maybe I came back to them.
Mira, tiene su puertecita y todo para que la abras. Ole. Claro que sí. Aquí nos está esperando.
Things I can't explain, but that I need you to try and...
Edith, what are you doing in here?
It's mine.
Edith!
Mom, you're gonna rip it. Let go.
Espera.
I kicked and
Ya lo-
screamed, but Mom dragged me to the car. I never saw Great Grandma Edie again. The next morning, the van came to pick her up, but she was already gone. After that, we moved around a lot. We both tried to make the best of it. A few years went by.
Va, pues no me deja hacer nada.
My mom didn't like to talk about it. But she started getting sick a lot. The rest happened pretty quickly. She got better for a while, and then she didn't. And then I was alone. The last Finch left alive.
Joder.
Until I found out about you. I'm still not sure what to tell you about all this. If we lived forever, maybe we'd have time to understand things. But as it is, I think the best we can do is try to open our eyes. And appreciate how strange and brief all of this is. This journal was supposed to be for you. But now I hope you'll never see it. I just want to meet you. And tell you all these stories myself.
Ya voy. Ya voy, mamá.
But I guess if you're reading this now, things didn't work out that way.
Vamos, que la madre ha muerto en el parto. No falla. Solo puede haber un Finch vivo.
This is where your story begins.
Al minuto.
I'm
Al
sorry
minuto
I
muere.
won't be there to see it. It's a lot to ask, but I don't want you to be sad that I'm gone. I want you to be amazed that any of us ever had a chance to be here at all. Good luck.
Joder. Y la casca, pero vamos. Pues bueno, gente, aquí ya hemos acabado este Edith Finch. Cortito. El fin de todo. Venga. está entretenido, es un juego así un poquito diferente también, tiene muchos años ya, es un juego bastante viejo, no sé, 2015, 16, no me acuerdo, 2016, 17, 15, no sé, entre esa época, quizá un poco, no me atrevería a decirlo tampoco exactamente. Bueno, una cosa diferente, ¿no? Aquí por el canal, bueno, ya sabéis que a mí me gusta jugar más o menos de todo, menos juegos de estos machacabotones. Me va el rollo así de todo esto. Pues bueno, nada, gente, ¿qué voy a decir? A mí me ha gustado personalmente, espero que os haya gustado a vosotros también. Y nada, a ver si qué próximo juego subimos por aquí por el canal. He estado un tiempo desaparecido, ya lo dije al principio del vídeo, porque no tenía muchas ganas de jugar, ni tenía estaba un poquito apático de todo. Pero bueno, ya vuelvo a estar un poquito más activo. Y mira, conforme me vas dejando van saliendo trofeos. Qué troll, ¿no? Y eso, y nada, nos iremos viendo poco a poco, a ver si empieza la industria del videojuego a ponerse un poquito activa y empiezan a sacar juegos divertidos en vez de toda la pandilla de mierda que sacan, porque es que es un desastre, la verdad. Yo de vez en cuando me paso por el game, no miro así cosas y joder, tío, es un puñetero desastre lo que hay, tío. No vale para nada, todo porquería. Pero bueno, aquí tenemos unas cosillas todavía por terminar y lo dicho, nos vemos en la siguiente aventura. Que vaya bien, chao.